It's interesting your comments about, I suppose, being affirmed. In other words, and being noticed. And this is a part of. I'm really still very curious about is what drives us as human beings. Um, you might have a passionate interest in something that might be innate, and you've actually got some skills because you're able to do code. I can't do code to save myself, so obviously I'm not meant to be a programmer. But I admire those that do, such as yourself, and I'm going, wow, that you make the computer do this by writing these lines of code. Whether it's an app or it's a platform or software for a tool for business. So, you're doing these projects, and then what was the inspiration? What was the call to go and start your own business? How did that happen?
So, like I mentioned earlier, I had exposure to entrepreneurs at a young age. I remember my dad explaining to me what entrepreneurship was, and he just always had his eye on the ball for that. And so, from a young age, I always kind of knew about it and thought it was cool and something worthy of going after. And my dad would come home and have like the nightly dinner table pitches, like, hey, what about a company that does this, and so he actually had some success in the entrepreneurial journey as well, but he ended up making kind of, after he did his company, he did a company in Singapore. After that all fizzled out for him, he moved on and had a lot of success in the corporate side with the skills he had built.
Yep.
So that was kind of the initial seed that got planted. And then later, so that kind of had me eyeballing it. And then what I found is that when I started working in more, professional type jobs, the CEOs and the founders would come out and just be talking about all the, exciting stuff going on with the company and all this. And I just was looking at it thinking like, why can't I be on that side of the table? I don't, I just wanted to see what it was like on the other side of the table, essentially. And so it actually got to a point where I was getting pretty obsessive about it. And it was really getting frustrating for me. And I'm sure my wife was getting sick of hearing about it because I was just constantly complaining about the chicken and egg problem with starting a company.
Yeah.
And I just didn't understand. I'm like, how do these people go from having a day job to having an actual company?
Good
And
question.
so yeah, it's one of the biggest nuts to crack. And so I had just worked at a company called Headspring, which was a boutique style consulting company in Austin, which was considered one of the premier places to work. And most of the programmers that worked there had either published books or done reputable open source projects or something like that. So it's like a kind of high end, it's like your Porsche or something like that. And so when I worked there, I had exposure to the CEO because it was a smaller company. It's probably about 15 people or something. And the CEO was a guy named Dustin Wells. And I ended up researching a lot of, because I thought the way they ran the company was amazing. And so I ended up researching a lot on Dustin and listening to some podcasts and interviews he had done. And that basically gave me some of the initial starting ideas I had, which is basically his core thesis was that if you're going to have a service company, the most important thing is that your customers like you.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about his journey and starting like working and at lunchtime going and like taking any job he could get and just kind of coding up these websites and different things, on his lunch break and before work and after work and making sales calls and kind of doing that. I think there's two ways that you can kind of get started. And the one way is that you kind of, I call it, well, it's not my phrase, but I always say fake it till you make it. And so in that approach, you're working your day job, you got your LLC and your business cards and your website. You're just going around telling people, yeah, this is my company and this is what I do, but it's really nothing there at that time. Or you can kind of save up a bunch of money and then go all in, quit your day job. And,
Yep.
I've saved up 6 months roadmap and you hire some people straight out the gate. If I was younger, I probably could have done that approach. But when I first tried to start a business, I had 2 kids and my wife was likely pregnant for our third. And and there was just a lifestyle I had to maintain. So I had to go the fake it till you make it route, you know.